Government may call its next witness.
Your Honor, the government calls Don Richard.
Don Richard, called as a witness, by the government having been duly sworn, testified as follows. Direct examination by Ms. Steiner.
Good afternoon, Miss Richard.
Hello,
How old are you?
42.
Where are you from?
I'm from New Orleans, Louisiana.
What, if any, musical background did you have growing up in New Orleans, Louisiana?
I was a singer and dancer, and my father was a singer as well.
How far did you go in school?
I have a bachelor's degree.
Directing your attention to the time period from 2004 to tech.
Yes.
Who were you working for?
Puff, Sean Combs.
When you say Puff, were you signed to a particular label?
I was signed to Bad Boy Records.
Is that a company that was owned by Sean Combs?
Yes.
Ms. Richard, do you see Mr. Combs in the courtroom today?
Yes.
And I'll ask that you identify him, please, by an article of clothing.
The white or the cream?
Indicating the defendant.
Do you know Mr. Combs by any other names?
I called him Puff.
I will refer to him as Puff as well, for purposes of clarity. Without getting into any of the details, can you describe at a high level your employment for Puff during that period of time?
I was a part of a girl group called Danity Kane.
Ms. Steiner, let's refer to him as Mr. Combs, please.
Of course, Your Honor.
I was a part of a girl group, one of five. I was one of five. And I was a part of another group called Diddy Dirty Money.
During your employment for Mr. Combs, did you meet any of his girlfriends?
Yes, I did.
Who did you meet?
Cassie.
Ms. Gavin, can we please put up for the parties, the jury, and the court Government Exhibit 2A401, Ms. Richard, who is depicted in this image?
That's Cassie.
Approximately, when did you first meet Cassie?
In 2005.
Did you continue to see Cassie after meeting her?
Yes.
And would you see her with Mr. Combs?
Yes, I would.
Approximately how often?
Frequently, all the time.
Directing your attention now to 2009, did you observe an incident between Mr. Combs and Cassie?
Yes, I did.
Can you please describe that, what you observed generally?
I observed Cassie being attacked.
And when you say that Cassie was attacked, who was she attacked by?
She was attacked by Sean Combs.
Again, at a high level, what did you observe of that attack?
He came down the stairs, screaming, belligerent, asking where his food was, and proceeded to hit her over the head and then kick and beat her on the ground in front of us.
After that incident, were there any other occasions when you observed Mr. Combs being physically violent with Cassie?
Yes.
How frequently?
Often.
We will return to the abuse you observed in a moment.
I'm going to object to the characterization by the prosecutor.
That's sustained.
I can rephrase. We'll return to that topic in a moment, Ms. Richard. Before we do, I want to ask you a few questions about your employment for Mr. Combs. You testified earlier that you were a member of a group called Diddy Dirty Money. Can you please describe for the jury what Diddy Dirty Money is?
It was an electro-soul trio, and it consisted of myself, Kalina Harper, and Sean Combs.
Ms. Gavin, can you please put up for the court, the parties, and witness what has been marked as Government Exhibit 9M105? Ms. Richard, do you recognize this image?
Yes, I do.
Generally, what does it depict?
It's Diddy Dirty Money.
Is it a fair and accurate depiction of the members of Diddy Dirty Money?
Yes.
The government offers Government Exhibit 9M105.
No objection.
9M105 will be admitted. Government's Exhibit 9M105 received in evidence.
Ms. Gavin, can you please publish that for the jury? Ms. Richard, can you please describe who is depicted in the image?
On the right is Kalina Harper, on the left is myself, and on the left is Sean Combs.
Are those who were the members of Diddy Dirty Money?
Yes.
Approximately when were you a member of this group?
Through 2009 to 2011.
Ms. Gavin, please take that down. When you were a member of the group Diddy Dirty Money, was Mr. Combs your boss?
Yes, he was.
How frequently did you interact with Mr. Combs?
Frequently.
And generally, where did you work when you were a member of Diddy Dirty Money?
It varied. It could be the studio, it could be his home, and it could be in hotels as well.
Where did Mr. Combs have homes or residences at that time?
Los Angeles, New York, and Miami.
You testified earlier about an incident that occurred in Ms. Richard?
I do.
Where did that incident take place?
in his Los Angeles home.
And when you say he, are you referring to Mr. Combs?
Sean Combs.
Ms. Gavin, can you please bring up what's already in evidence as Government Exhibit 2B-101? Thank you. Ms. Richard, do you recognize this image?
I do.
What is this image of?
This is Sean Combs' LA home.
At the time of this incident in 2009, why were you in Mr. Combs' residence?
We were recording.
And when you say we, who are you referring to?
Kalina Harper and myself.
Where in the home, generally, were you recording?
At the bottom, lower level, he has a studio. Sean Combs has a studio at the bottom.
Approximately what time of day were you in the residence?
It was nighttime.
And at the time that you were there for purposes of recording, was Cassie in the house?
She was.
Where was she located?
In the kitchen on the second level.
Where were you located when Cassie was in the kitchen?
Kalina and I were in the kitchen with her.
We can take this down. Thank you. Ms. Richard, what, if anything, was Cassie doing in the kitchen?
She was cooking breakfast. She was cooling eggs.
And you said she was cooking breakfast. Was she doing that at night?
At night, yeah.
Just to be clear. And where was Mr. Combs at that time?
He was at the top level, the floor above us.
And what did you observe Mr. Combs do?
He came downstairs angry and was saying, where the fuck was his eggs? Excuse my language. And he was telling Cassie that she never gets anything right. Where the fuck is his food? And he proceeded to come over to her and took the skillet with the eggs in it and tried to hit her over the head with it, and she fell to the ground.
Let me ask you a couple questions about that. You testified that Mr. Combs grabbed a skillet of eggs, correct?
Correct.
Can you describe the skillet?
It was a black skillet, just something you would cook eggs in, flat pan.
Can you describe the material?
Like, a regular pan, a skillet that you would see at any store.
And you said that he attempted to hit her. Is that correct?
Correct.
Where did he attempt to hit her with the skillet?
Over the head.
And you testified also that Cassie dropped to the ground. Is that correct?
She fell to the ground.
So did the skillet hit her?
It didn't seem that he hit her fully. It seemed like she was anticipating it by going down.
When you just said that Cassie dropped to the ground, can you describe specifically what she did?
She went into fetal position. You could see she was literally trying to hide her face or her head.
Did you see Cassie respond with any physical force?
No.
Based on your observations of Cassie's reaction, so falling to the ground and going into the fetal position, what, if any, understanding did you have?
I'm going to object to the form of the question.
Can you rephrase the question?
Of course, Your Honor. Ms. Richard, you testified a moment ago that Cassie dropped to the ground, is that correct?
Correct.
And assumed the fetal position.
She did.
Is that correct?
That's correct.
Did you have any understanding about why she did that?
Objection, Judge.
This is just witness understanding, Your Honor.
I think it's the why she did that portion of it. So perhaps you could use a different phrasing.
Of course. How did Cassie react?
She fell to the ground into fetal position, and it seemed like she was doing it.
I'm going to object to the answer as not responsive.
That's overruled.
You can answer, Ms. Richard.
It seemed as if she was doing it, as if it was something she did often.
I'm going to object to that as non-responsive and move to strike it.
That's granted. The jury should disregard witness's last answer.
Ms. Richard, what happened after Cassie dropped to the ground in the fetal position?
He started to punch her and kick her.
And again, when you say he, who are you referring to?
Sean Combs.
Where was Mr. Combs kicking and punching Cassie?
Her body and her head.
After you observed Mr. Combs kicking and punching Cassie on the ground, what did you observe next?
He proceeded to take his arm around her neck and put his hand in her hair and dragged her upstairs to the first floor.
What, if anything, did you hear from upstairs?
Glass breaking and yelling.
Ms. Richard, how did you react to seeing and hearing this?
I was scared for her and scared to do anything, in fear of what that might mean for me too.
Ms. Richard, when you say you were scared of doing anything, did you intervene between Mr. Combs and Cassie?
No.
Did you call for law enforcement assistance?
No.
Why not?
I had never seen anything like that before, and I didn't know what that would mean. I was scared of what that might mean for myself.
Can you explain what you mean by that?
He was punching his girlfriend He was beating her up in front of us, and I was scared if I intervened or did anything, that it might get worse.
What, if anything, were you directed to do the next day?
Sean Combs called us to come in and record.
When you say we, who are you referring to?
Kalina and myself.
Did you follow Mr. Combs's instructions?
I did.
What did Mr. Combs do once you and Kalina Harper arrived at his residence?
He brought us into the recording studio and locked the door.
What, if anything, did Mr. Combs tell you and Kalina in the locked recording studio?
He said that what we saw was a passion and what lovers in relationships do. He said that she was okay and that it would be in our best interests if we didn't say anything. He was trying to take us to the top, and that where he comes from, people go missing if they say things like that, like if people talk. And then he gave us flowers.
When Mr. Combs told you that people can end up missing, what did you understand him to be meaning?
That people could die a death. I don't know. It just seemed Cassie.
I'm going to object to this entire line, Your Honor, and move to strike it.
Your Honor, this is the defendant's statements that she is explaining her understanding of.
First of all, I think there needs to be an objection. If you'd like a sidebar to address the issue, you can request a sidebar.
Yes, Judge.
All right, let's have a sidebar. What is the objection?
First of all, I think this is getting into forbidden territory. This is part of the forced labor Your Honor ruled they could not get into. There's no other relevance to what's going on in the recording studio other than that. So I think, first of all, it runs afoul on the court's ruling, and it's unduly prejudicial. It's not relevant to any of the charges.
Ms. Steiner.
Your Honor, this is describing the witness, his mental state in response to a threat made to her directly by the defendant. It's an act of attempted obstruction. And as she's going to continue to testify, threats such as this were always in the back of her mind when she was observing this by the defendant, and was a primary reason why she did not take other actions in response to what she observed. It's also directly relevant to what's been alleged in the government's indictment about the way the defendant would make use of threats in response to individuals attempting to intervene with his conduct. And this was squarely within what the government described as being part of its case.
If I could, this is not charged as obstructive conduct. If the government is saying that this is part of the obstruction count, that's news to us. This is...
Let me raise this question. It is now 4:55. So at this point, given that this issue has arisen, although not to be a broken record, but this seems like the kind of thing that would have been raised on a motion in limine. Understanding that Ms. Richard was going to testify. That was clarified as late as the April 25th conference where Ms. Johnson specifically said Ms. Richard is going to testify. At that time, the defense would have had questions about what the scope of that testimony would be, which they could have raised at that time. So let's take our recess for the weekend. We can address briefly the issue. We'll see what we can do about it. Members of the jury, we are going to stay and keep working here, but you are off for the weekend. I want to say on behalf of everyone here, thank you. Thank you so much for your hard work this week. You are always on time, you are always paying attention, and we know how hard this is on you, your families, your loved ones, everyone. But as I said at the beginning of this proceeding, your work here is the bedrock of not only this case, but of our democracy. And I really mean that. And so I want you to remember that this is really important, and we all know that. So we will keep working over the weekend, but you take that time off. You can watch the Mets-Yankees, the Knicks. If you're not into sports, there's all sorts of other stuff to do. Have a great and relaxing weekend, and we'll see you here on Monday. Just a reminder, on Monday we are changing our schedule. I'll ask you to be back here at 8:30. I know that's early, and I apologize for that. In exchange of that, you're going to get out of here earlier, so you can go home much earlier than we've been going home this week. And so that's the exchange. Again, do not talk to each other about the case. Do not talk to anyone else about the case. Even your loved ones, your family. Do not look up anything about the case, and you should have no discussions whatsoever about the case. Other things, that's fine. Have a great weekend. All rise. Ms. Richard, can you leave the stand at this time, and we'll see you back here on Monday. Thank you very much. Please be seated. Welcome back, members of the jury. I hope you had a great weekend. Ms. Richard, you understand you're still under oath.
Yes, sir.
Ms. Steiner, you can proceed when ready.
Thank you, Your Honor. Good morning, Miss Richard.
Good morning.
Before the weekend, you testified regarding an incident involving an egg skillet in 2009 at Mr. Combs' residence. Do you recall that?
Yes.
If you can just...
Yes, please speak up.
Sorry.
You also testified that the following day, Mr. Combs called you back to his residence and made certain statements to you. Do you recall that?
Yes.
Can you please remind the jury the statements that Mr. Combs made to you at that time?
That the relationship that he had, that the incident was of passion and that Cassie was okay. And that if we say anything, that we could go missing.
When Mr. Combs told you, and I believe it was Miss Harper,
Kalina Harper,
that you could go missing, what did you understand him to mean?
Objection, Your Honor.
It's overruled.
that we could die.
Ms. Richard, how did you react when Mr. Combs threatened you in this manner?
I didn't react at all. Was shocked, but also scared because it was our first time really getting started to record. And that was my first time really being in a group with everybody. And I couldn't believe that this would be the beginning of the journey for us.
The group you're referring to, Ms. Richard, is Diddy Dirty Money.
Dirty money.
Following the incident in Mr. Combs' residence in 2009, did you continue to see Ms. Ventura while you were a member of Diddy Dirty Money?
I did.
Generally, where would you see her?
In the studio, in hotels, events that we would have, performances we would have, and in the house as well.
Generally, how frequently would you see Ms. Ventura?
Frequently.
After the incident in Mr. Combs' Los Angeles residence, were there other occasions when you observed acts of violence between Mr. Combs and Ms. Ventura?
Yes.
How frequently did you observe Mr. Combs being violent with Ms. Ventura?
Frequently.
Can you please describe for the jury what you observed generally?
He would punch her, choke her, drag her, slap her in the mouth. I saw him kick her. Punch her in the stomach.
Prior to witnessing those incidents, were you able to observe the interactions between Mr. Combs and Ms. Ventura?
Yes.
And generally, based on your observations, what would prompt these acts of violence?
Objection.
It's overruled.
It varied. It could be Cass speaking up for herself. It could be random, like we wouldn't even know where it came from. It could be if she wanted to perform or she had an opinion about something. It just varied.
And when you state that it happens sometimes when Ms. Ventura would speak up for herself, can you describe what you mean by that?
Cass is like quiet. She would be quiet. She had a quiet demeanor. She was soft. And when she would have these moments of like trying to be stick up for herself, trying to be more for herself, and he wasn't having that, he would hurt her for it.
And when you refer to him, are you referring to Mr. Combs?
Yes.
Who, if anyone, from Mr. Combs' staff was present for these incidents of violence?
That varied too. It could be anyone from Harv Pierre to Capricorn Clark to Mia to D-Rock to Bonds. It depends.
Generally, at a high level, can you describe the roles that Capricorn Clark and Mia served for the defendant?
They were assistants and also a head of marketing, like brand work.
You also testified that members from his security staff would observe these incidents. Is that correct?
Yes.
And
Objection. Your Honor, may we have a time context to any of this testimony?
Hold on.
Objection.
Thank you. Is that an objection?
Yes.
Ms. Steiner, can you rephrase the question?
yes, Your Honor. Ms. Richard, you testified that the first incident of violence that you observed between Mr. Combs and Ms. Ventura was in 2009. Is that correct?
Right.
And approximately when was the last incident
You said the last incident?
of violence?
Which one?
Let me rephrase my question. You said you also observed violence frequently thereafter. Is that right?
Yes.
And that continued throughout the period of time in which you were a member of Diddy Dirty Money.
Yes.
And were you a member of Diddy Dirty Money from 2009 through 2011?
Correct.
And did those incidents of violence continue throughout that period of time?
Yes.
Can you specify, Ms. Richard, who from Mr. Combs' security staff witnessed incidents of violence?
D-Rock and Bonds.
Ms. Becker, can we please bring up what has been marked for identification and may be in evidence, I apologize, as Government Exhibit 2A2202? Thank you. I believe this is in evidence. Ms. Richard, do you recognize this image?
I do.
Who is this?
It's D-Rock.
And can you please describe what D-Rock's role was for Mr. Combs?
He was a bodyguard. He was also really close to Puff. They were close, like brothers.
Ms. Becker, can you please bring up what is in evidence as Government Exhibit 2A201? Ms. Richard, do you recognize this image?
Yes.
Who is depicted in it?
That's Bonds.
What was Bond's role for Mr. Combs?
Security.
You can take that down. The D-Rock and Bonds work for Mr. Combs the entire time you were a member of Diddy Dirty Money?
Yes.
How would D-Rock and Bonds react to incidents of violence that they observed?
They wouldn't react. They wouldn't do anything.
Did you ever observe Ms. Ventura with injuries after these instances of abuse?
Yes.
Where on her body?
Her face. When I say face, her eyes, her lip, her arms, her knees.
How, if at all, would Ms. Ventura attempt to cover up or hide these injuries?
With makeup, clothing, and sometimes sunglasses.
Did there come a time later in 2009 when you were in New York for a festival performance?
Yeah. We were in Central Park.
Which festival was this?
I don't know the name of it, but we were announcing our group. It was in Central Park.
Again, the group is Diddy Dirty Money?
Diddy Dirty Money.
And in connection with that festival, was there a time that you and Ms. Ventura and Mr. Combs were in Mr. Combs' New York residence?
Correct.
Where is that residence located?
In New York City.
Who else, if anyone, was present?
Kalina Harper, Cassie, and myself.
What happened while you were in the residence?
Kalina and I were in the bathroom getting ready, doing our makeup, and Puffy and Cassie were in the hallway arguing.
What did you observe happen next?
He punched her in the face.
When you say he, are you referring to Mr. Combs?
Sean Combs punched her in the face.
Did he punch her with an open or closed fist?
It was a closed fist.
After Mr. Combs punched Ms. Ventura in the face with a closed fist, how did she respond?
She came into the bathroom crying. He walked off angry, and she came in the bathroom. And we were with her, and it was really quiet. You could see her. You could see her upset. She was hurt. She was embarrassed.
Objection.
That's sustained. The jury should disregard the last sentence of the witness's answer.
What, if any, injuries did you observe on Ms. Ventura at that time?
Her eye was swelling.
What, if anything, did you observe Ms. Ventura do to try and cover up that injury?
She started doing her makeup to try to hide it.
Did she do anything else to cover up the injury?
She wore sunglasses that day.
Why did she wear sunglasses?
She wanted to hide the swelling.
Objection.
Sustained.
Ms. Richard, did you remain with Ms. Ventura after this incident?
Yes.
Why did you remain with her?
I wanted her to feel supported. She wanted to be with us. We wanted to have her back.
Ms. Becker, can you please bring up for the parties, witness, and court what has been marked for identification as Government Exhibit 9R101? Actually, can we please do 9P102? Thank you. Ms. Richard, do you recognize this image?
I do.
Generally, what does it depict?
It's us at the Central Park Festival together in New York.
Is it a fair and accurate depiction of that?
Yes.
Government offers Government Exhibit 9P102.
Any objection?
No.
9P102 will be admitted.
Ms. Richard, was this image taken later in the day following that incident?
Yes.
Can you please describe, or can you please publish that for the jury? Can you please describe who is depicted in this photograph?
On the left is Kalina Harper, and in the middle is myself, and to the right is Cassie.
And it appears in this photo that the three of you are wearing sunglasses. Why are you all wearing sunglasses?
Objection.
I can rephrase, Your Honor.
Okay.
Ms. Richard, what are you wearing in this photograph?
I'm wearing sunglasses.
And what is Ms. Harper wearing?
She's wearing sunglasses.
What is Ms. Ventura wearing?
She is wearing sunglasses.
Are those the sunglasses you observed her put on in the bathroom?
Yes.
Why are the three of you? Why did you
Objection.
decide to wear sunglasses that day?
to have solidarity, to be a friend, to be a support system for someone who needed it.
You can take this down. Ms. Richard, directing your attention now to the following year in 2010. Did there come a time that you were in a restaurant in West Hollywood, California, with Mr. Combs and Ms. Ventura?
Yes.
What happened at that restaurant?
Mr. Combs punched Cassie in the stomach.
Can you please describe what you observed leading up to that incident?
We were having a private conversation, and we were all sitting, eating at the tables together. When I say we, I mean some bad boy, some of our other label, and even some celebrities were in the room. And they were secretly arguing, and he punched her in the stomach. Sean Combs punched her in the stomach.
How, if at all, did Ms. Ventura respond when she was punched in the stomach?
She immediately bent over and then he told her to leave because I could see him point out. And she went out and left the room.
Who, if any, of Mr. Combs' employees were present?
Harv Pierre, Capricorn Clark, Mia, D-Rock, Bonds, myself, and Kalina Harper.
Ms. Becker, can you please bring up for the parties and the court and witness what has been marked as Government Exhibit 2A319? Ms. Richard, do you recognize this image?
I do.
What is it?
This is Harv Pierre.
Is it that a fair and accurate depiction of Mr. Pierre?
Yes.
Government offers Government Exhibit 2A319.
No objection.
All right. 2A319 will be admitted.
Ms. Becker, can we please publish that for the jury? Ms. Richard, generally, who was Mr. Pierre?
He was the president of Bad Boy Records.
Who, if anyone, did he report to at Bad Boy?
Objection.
Can you rephrase the question?
Of course. Ms. Richard, you said that Mr. Pierre was the president of Bad Boy. Is that correct?
Correct.
Does that mean he was your boss?
He wasn't my boss. He just was the boss of Bad Boy. My boss was Puff Sean Combs.
Mr. Combs?
Yeah.
And did you observe Mr. Combs and Mr. Pierre while at Bad Boy together?
Yes.
Did you have an understanding of what Mr. Pierre's role was at Bad Boy?
Yes. He answered to Puff or Sean Combs.
What, if anything, did Mr. Pierre or the other employees present do to intervene after that incident?
They didn't. No one intervened. We didn't.
When did you next see Ms. Ventura?
We got in the car together to head back to the LA house.
Who was present in the car?
Kalina, myself, Cassie, Puff, and D-Rock.
Can you please describe where everyone was positioned in the car?
Yes. Kalina and I it was like a Sprinter, so like a BMW Sprinter. So we were sitting facing them, if that makes sense. So it was Kalina and I, and then Puff and Cass, and then D-Rock was in the front.
Was D-Rock driving?
He was driving, yeah.
Was anyone speaking in the car?
Cass and Puff were arguing.
And what generally were they discussing?
Cass was embarrassed and she was telling him, like, he shouldn't have done that in public, and she felt embarrassed.
Objection.
Sustained.
How did Mr. Combs respond?
He grabbed her by the neck and popped her in. He slapped her in the mouth, told her to shut the fuck up.
You say that he popped her in the mouth. What do you mean by that?
Like an open hand slap to the mouth.
How did Ms. Ventura respond after she was hit in the mouth?
She looked outside the window, and everyone was quiet for the rest of the ride.
How, if at all, did D-Rock respond?
He didn't.
Ms. Richard, what, if anything, would you discuss with Ms. Ventura about her music career?
Cass had big dreams. She really loved...
Objection.
The basis?
It's for the effect on the listener, Your Honor, not for its truth.
All right, it's overruled.
She wanted to put out her album, and I told her I would write for her. She wanted to do more modeling. She wanted to do well with her career. And I, myself and Kalina, we encouraged her to do that. We wanted to support her in any way that we could.
Did you observe any discussions between Ms. Ventura and Mr. Combs about those career goals?
Yes.
And how, if at all, would Mr. Combs respond in those discussions?
Objection.
It's overruled.
Mr. Combs didn't like that we knew or we talked to Cassie, and oftentimes we would pay for it.
I just want to stop you for a moment. Ms. Richard, can you describe what, if anything, you recall Mr. Combs saying to Ms. Ventura in those discussions?
Oh, that it would be on his time, like it was coming. But when he said it would come, he would also tell her like he owned her. Like this was, I do this. It was a very much like, when I'm ready for you, you'll do it. And it was always wait for her. Like she had to wait her time.
Would Mr. Combs ever be upset in these discussions?
Objection.
You can rephrase.
Thank you, Your Honor. What was Mr. Combs' demeanor in these discussions?
That varied. Sometimes it was just a moment of like, wait your turn, and it was regular. And then other times it was violent and volatile, and we would have to see that.
What, if anything, would Mr. Combs say when he became violent or volatile?
It varied to, whether that was him hitting her or calling her out her name or telling her like, it was he owned her in that moment or her decisions. That would be what it would be.
Ms. Richard, what, if anything, would you tell Ms. Ventura after witnessing acts of physical abuse?
We told her she should leave.
Objection.
Grounds?
Hearsay.
I think, Ms. Steiner, you can probably rephrase the question to avoid the objection.
Thank you, Your Honor. Ms. Richard, can you please answer? Just limit it to you specifically.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I told her she should leave.
How would Ms. Ventura react when you told her to leave?
Cass looked torn, like she would listen, but I could see the fear.
Objection.
Sustained.
If you know Ms. Richard, was Mr. Combs later made aware of these discussions?
Yes.
And what, if anything, did Mr. Combs tell you after those discussions?
He didn't like it when Kalina and I would talk to Cass because she would tell him, and then he would come and we would pay for it.
And I guess,
I paid for it.
Specifically, what, if anything, do you recall Mr. Combs telling you?
Oh, man. Stay the fuck out of my relationship. You bitches are here to work, not be a part of my relationship. You motherfuckers don't know real work, man.
What, if any, threats would Mr. Combs make to you?
That it would be, or else we would pay for it. That was always, y'all are going to pay for it or keep doing it, that kind of thing. It's always you do this or else something bad will happen to you. It was always that, like, a threat that if you didn't stay in line, there was consequences.
What was Mr. Combs' demeanor when he made these threats?
That varied. Again, sometimes it was a stern, like, moment to say it, and other times it was loud, angry, violent, and like, it's mean. It was mean. It was mean.
Did anyone else speak to you specifically about your discussions with Ms. Ventura?
Yes.
Who was that?
Harv Pierre.
And what, if anything, would Mr. Pierre tell you?
Harv said it gets dark and lonely. And Mr. Combs used to say this too. It gets dark and lonely if you don't listen. It was very much like, y'all need to listen to him. Y'all don't want to deal with what happens if you don't. And that was stated by Harv and Mr. Combs.
What did you understand that when Mr. Pierre and Mr. Combs said it gets dark and lonely?
Objection.
It's overruled.
I had seen and witnessed brutality in a way that I had to believe that if the person that was supposedly in love with did what he did to her, what would he do to an employee? I imagine it would be worse than that.
How did you respond to these threats?
My thought was to be as kind as possible. Like, I tried to please. I saw what if you spoke out looked like. So I would oftentimes approach Mr. Combs like with softness and like, hey, how are you? It was always very much like, if I do it this way, I maybe will have a better chance than what the other way looked like.
Did you continue to try to intervene in Mr. Combs' relationship?
No. I made a decision that it would be best for the safety of myself to not interfere, because I don't think she was ready to really do anything.
Objection.
I'm prepared to turn to a new topic, Your Honor.
I didn't even hear the objection, so must be a problem with the microphone. What was the objection? What were the grounds?
Speculation.
That's overruled.
You may proceed. Thank you, Your Honor. While you were employed by Mr. Combs, did you ever observe him using drugs?
Yes.
What kinds of drugs?
Weed, ketamine, cocaine, Molly, E.
Approximately how often did you observe him taking those drugs?
Often.
Generally, where would he take these substances?
The studio or the house.
How often, if at all, did you observe him taking opiates?
I never really saw him take opiates.
Who, if anyone, would deliver the drugs to the studio?
There was this guy named One Stop that used to come in the studio.
Ms. Becker, can you please put up for witness the parties and the court what has been marked as Government Exhibit 2A 507? Ms. Richard, do you recognize this image?
Yes,
What does it depict?
that's One Stop.
Is that a fair and accurate depiction of One Stop?
It is.
Government offers government exhibit. Ms. Westmoreland, no objection.
2A 507 will be admitted.
Ms. Becker, can we please publish that? What types of drugs did One Stop sell?
That varied too. The reason why they called him that.
Objection.
Okay,
That's sustained. Hold on.
I'm sorry.
What types of drugs did you observe One Stop selling?
Cocaine, Plan B, birth control, weed, E, Molly, like everything.
Did he deliver drugs to Mr. Combs?
He did.
Where would he deliver the drugs?
In the studio.
We can take that down. Where did Mr. Combs generally store the drugs he received?
He had.
Objection.
Miss Steiner, you can rephrase.
Thank you, Your Honor. Ms. Richard, did you observe Mr. Combs take possession of the drugs that were delivered?
Yes.
Did you observe where he stored the drugs?
Yeah, he had this Louis Vuitton pouch, travel toiletry bag that he would put the drugs in.
When, if at all, would you observe Mr. Combs traveling with that Louis Vuitton pouch?
That Louis Vuitton pouch went everywhere from domestic to overseas.
Who would you observe carrying the Louis Vuitton pouch?
It could be his assistants or himself.
Did Mr. Combs ever offer you drugs?
Yes.
Did you take them?
I only smoked weed.
Did you observe Mr. Combs offer anyone else drugs?
Yes.
Who did you observe him offer drugs to?
Kalina, Harper, and Cassie.
You've been testifying about observing Mr. Combs receiving drugs in the studio. Did you observe him consume those drugs in the studio?
Yes.
While he was taking drugs in the studio, was he also working?
Yes.
What type of work was he doing?
It could be anything, from our album stuff to his business corporations and things he had going on.
While you were working for Mr. Combs, when, if ever, did you see him with a weapon on his person?
A few times.
What kind of weapon did you observe on his person?
It looked like a handgun.
Approximately when did you first see Mr. Combs with a handgun?
In the studio.
When you say in the studio, was that when you working for Diddy Dirty Money?
Correct.
Where in time during your employment for Diddy Dirty Money did you first observe the handgun?
In 2009 going into 2010.
Generally, where would you observe Mr. Combs carrying the handgun?
In the lower waist, in the back.
You said that you observed Mr. Combs with a handgun in the studio. Is that correct?
Correct.
Did you observe him carrying the handgun in any other locations?
If we went to a club after studio.
Who, if anyone else, working for Mr. Combs carried handguns or guns?
His bodyguards.
And specifically, which bodyguards?
D-Rock and Bonds.
And generally, where would D-Rock and Bonds carry those firearms?
In the same place, the lower back.
How, if at all, did your observations of Mr. Combs and his security with handguns affect you?
Objection.
That's overruled.
I mean, fear. You have to know your environment. And it was fearful every day to be in, to understand, like, what that meant. I mean, it was just, that was the kind of environment I was in.
Ms. Richard, did there come a time when you left your employment for Mr. Combs?
Yes.
Approximately when was that?
Generally, what did you do after leaving Bad Boy? What do you mean?
Did you work after leaving Bad Boy?
Yeah.
Generally, what kind of work did you do?
It was the same.
Did Mr. Combs remain in contact after you left Bad Boy?
Yes.
Can you describe generally when he would be in touch?
Every time I was kind of like getting a little momentum in my career, there would be a FaceTime call, and if you didn't answer that, then someone else would call, and if you didn't answer that, someone else would call. And finally, you would get on the call and make contact. And so it would be every so often. Another time he contacted me for the possibility of using an old song.
I'm going to stop you right there, Ms. Richard. When you said someone else would contact you when you didn't pick up immediately, who would those individuals be?
His assistant or management.
And when you had these discussions with Mr. Combs, how would you interact with him?
Again, the smartest way to talk, because it was the way I felt was the safest, was to always be pleasant, very kind, almost calling him bro all the time. Hi, bro. Very much like that.
When you initially left your employment for Mr. Combs, did you disclose the abuse that you had observed?
No.
Why not?
Before I left, I was told to come in, and that the only way I could...
I'm going to stop you right there, Ms. Richard. Without getting into that conversation, can you just describe more generally why you did not disclose what you had?
I was told not to.
Who told you not to?
Mr. Combs and Harve Pierre.
Did there later come a time when you did decide to speak publicly about what you had witnessed?
Yes.
Approximately when was that? What, if anything, changed your willingness to be public with what you had experienced?
I saw Cassie finally take the stand and tell the truth.
Objection. Move to strike.
The objection is sustained. The jury should disregard witness's answer.
You can ask a question phrased differently to avoid the objection. Ms. Richard, did you observe Ms. Ventura file a civil lawsuit around that time?
I did.
Did you yourself file a civil lawsuit against Mr. Combs around that time?
I did.
Is that civil lawsuit that you filed primarily related to Mr. Combs' treatment of you?
Yes.
Are there claims in your civil lawsuit based on Mr. Combs' conduct towards you?
Objection, Your Honor.
That's sustained. You can rephrase the question.
You testified just now, Ms. Richard, that your civil lawsuit is based on Mr. Combs' treatment of you specifically. Is that correct?
Correct.
And in your testimony here today and on Friday before the weekend, have you talked about Mr. Combs' treatment of you during your testimony, or have you focused on his treatment of others?
His treatment of others.
Objection.
That's overruled.
Ms. Richard, is your lawsuit against Mr. Combs still pending?
It is.
And are you aware of the details of any settlement negotiations with Mr. Combs?
No, I'm not.
Are you aware of how much money, if at all, has been requested to settle the suit?
No, I'm not.
As a result of your testimony here today, Ms. Richard, are you expecting any compensation?
I'm expecting missing justice.
Are you expecting any compensation, Ms. Richard?
From this?
From your testimony?
No.
No further questions, Your Honor.
Good morning, Ms. Richard. My name is Nicole Westmoreland. I represent Mr. Combs, okay?
Good morning.
I need to ask you a few questions. Now, your lawsuit that's pending right now as we speak, correct? You have...
Correct.
And there's a motion to dismiss pending for that lawsuit?
I'm not sure.
Objection.
Overruled.
You're aware that there's currently a motion to dismiss pending in your lawsuit, correct?
Not aware?
Okay. Now, before filing a lawsuit against Mr. Combs, you're aware that your attorneys sent a demand letter on your behalf, correct?
I'm not aware of what my attorney sent. I'm sorry.
Without telling me any conversations between you and your lawyers, you hired civil lawyers, correct?
I have civil lawyers.
And you understand that the civil lawyers that you hired are litigating on your behalf, correct?
Can you give that in a term I can understand?
You hired lawyers to do a job on your behalf?
Yes.
Thank you.
Ms. Richard, you formally filed suit January 11, 2024. Does that sound accurate? I'm not sure. I'd have to see. I thought it was September.
So you formally filed suit September 2024. Does that sound accurate?
It sounds, yeah.
Now, after filing a formal lawsuit against Mr. Combs, you had an interview with the government. Do you remember that?
What are you referring? Like, just a conversation with can you give me more? I'm sorry.
Yes. You've had the opportunity to sit down and speak with the federal prosecutors, the government, correct?
Correct.
And you sat down and you spoke with them numerous times, right?
Miss Richard, few times.
You sat down with them 8 times. Does that sound right?
I don't recall the number. I'm sorry.
Would several be fair?
Miss Richard, few times.
Would you agree with me that over the few times that you sat down and spoke with the government, that your allegations, the ones that you've testified to today, have changed over time?
No, I think they've been as best as I can recall.
You think they've been consistent?
As best as I can recall.
First, I want to speak with you about your testimony on Friday, about the egg in the kitchen incident. Do you remember explaining a situation like that to the jury?
Yes, ma'am.
And you on Friday, you stated that Ms. Ventura was in the kitchen and she was cooking eggs, right?
She was cooling eggs.
The eggs were done and she was cooling eggs, correct? And then you said Mr. Combs came downstairs, he was yelling, right?
He was.
And then he attempted to hit Ms. Ventura with the frying pan with the... Okay, I couldn't hear you. I need you to say yes or no with Gideon. Reporter.
He went to swing at her. It didn't...
So he attempted to hit her in the head. And then you testified Ms. Ventura dropped down into a fetal position.
She covered herself, yeah.
And that's your testimony?
Yeah.
This isn't the first time. Testifying on Friday and today, it's not the first time you spoke about this egg-alleged incident, right?
Spoke in my civil case and right now.
I'm sorry, I couldn't hear the last part.
I'm not sure. Yes, I've spoken in my case and here now.
You've spoken about it in your civil case, and you've spoken about it here?
Mm-hmm.
And you've also spoken about it to the prosecutors, right?
We've spoken, yes.
Let's start with the civil part. You're aware that in the letters sent on your behalf to Mr. Combs that you described this egg incident. Are you aware of that?
Repeat the question. I'm sorry.
Are you aware in the letters sent on your behalf to Mr. Combs that the egg incident that you allegedly saw, that it's described? Are you aware of that?
No, I'm not aware.
I'd like to show it to you to see if it would refresh your memory, okay?
Okay.
Could you please pull up pre-marked defense exhibit 1500 just for the parties? Can you go to page 7, paragraph 2? Miss Richard, could you please read that to yourself, and once you're finished, please look up at me.
Okay.
Are you done?
Yes, ma'am.
Were you aware that your allegation here was described as you?
Objection.
Sustained.
Did you ever make the statement that you heard a pan hit the wall, you didn't see it?
I don't recall.
Does looking at that document refresh your memory?
I don't recall that, though, writing that.
Are you aware that that was said on your behalf?
Objection.
That's sustained.
Let's go back. You hired civil lawyers, correct?
Correct.
And you hired civil lawyers to enter into a litigation on your behalf, correct?
Right.
And you are aware that civil lawyers reached out to lawyers in reference to Mr. Combs. You're aware of that, right?
I'm not aware of that. I'm sorry.
You're aware that they filed a lawsuit on your behalf?
Correct.
And you are aware that in the civil proceedings, they litigated on your behalf, correct?
Can you again give it to me where I understand it? I'm sorry.
Sure. You hire lawyers to represent you, right?
Correct.
And you understand what a civil suit is, correct?
Correct.
That's when you're suing someone?
Correct.
And you're asking for money?
Correct.
You understand that?
I'm asking for compensation for the work that I had.
Compensation, money, whatever term you'd like to use, that's what you're asking for, right?
Correct.
And you hire a lawyer to do that for you, that's what you did?
Correct.
And so you understand that lawyers make claims on your behalf?
Correct.
And you understand that when you hire civil lawyers, they make claims on your behalf?
Correct.
To seek for your compensation?
Okay.
And are you aware that on your behalf, the incident you described was that you heard...
Objection.
That's sustained.
Ms. Richard, let me ask you this. You sat down with the federal government on October 31st, 2024, didn't you?
I don't remember the date. I'm sorry.
May I show you something to help refresh your memory?
Please, yes, thank you.
Could you please, for the parties only, pull doc 3574.006? Do you see the highlighted date?
I see the highlighted date.
You can pull that down for now. You understand that when you went in to interview with the government that there was someone there taking notes?
Yes.
And the government, during these interviews, the government would ask you questions, right?
Correct.
You would answer them?
Yes.
Now that you had the chance to look at that document, does that help refresh your memory that you met with the government on October 31st, 2024?
It doesn't help me because I don't know what that document... I've never seen that document before.
Do you have any reason to disagree with me that you met with the government?
I was saying I didn't see that.
No worries. No worries. I want to get to the substance of it. When you met with the government, didn't you tell them that Mr. Combs actually hit Ms. Ventura with a frying pan?
I said he attempted to hit her with a frying pan.
I didn't ask you that. Did you actually tell the government not that he attempted to hit her, that he did hit her?
Yes.
You told the government that?
That he hit her, yes.
And you agree with me that there's a major difference between attempting to hit someone with a frying pan and actually hitting them? You agree with that?
Yes.
And you understood that when you were sitting down with the federal prosecutors, that it was very important for you to tell the truth?
Yes.
And you understood that it was important for you to be as accurate as possible?
To the best of my ability, yes.
And you understand testifying today that you're under oath?
Yes.
And you know that you need to tell the ladies and gentlemen of this jury the truth?
Absolutely.
And you would agree with me that there is a difference between hitting someone with a frying pan and throwing a frying pan, correct?
Correct.
but you gave two different stories, didn't you?
I did the best that I could to recall.
How about you gave another interview? Would you have reason to disagree with me that your next interview was on March 18th, 2025?
I wouldn't disagree with you. That sounds right.
And in that interview, isn't it true that you told the federal prosecutors that Mr. Combs actually threw eggs at Ms. Ventura?
No, I don't recall that.
You don't recall that? And that after throwing eggs at Ms. Ventura, that he actually set the pan back down. Do you remember saying that?
I don't recall that.
Let me show you something to help refresh your memory, okay?
Thank you.
Can you please publish only for the parties 3574.007? Can you please go down to page 4, first open bullet point? Can you highlight that section right there? Thank you very much. Please read that to yourself and then look up at me when you're done. Are you done?
I am.
Does it refresh your memory that you actually told the prosecutors that Mr. Combs didn't hit her with the pan at all?
I don't recall saying that. I'm sorry.
And isn't it true that you told the prosecutors, now with reading that he actually threw eggs at her?
I don't recall saying it.
You don't recall saying that? And we discussed that when you had these interviews that there was a note taker, right?
Yes.
You agree that throwing eggs and then setting the pan down is different than hitting someone with a pan, right?
I do.
And you agree that hitting someone with a pan is very different than attempting to hit someone with a pan, right?
Correct.
And you agree that hearing a pan thrown against the wall is different than all three of the other ways, right?
Correct.
Ms. Richard, let me just ask you, would you agree with me that it's been hard for you to keep your story the same in reference to this egg incident?
Objection.
It's overruled.
No, I wouldn't agree with that.
You would agree that you told multiple different stories, though?
No, I would agree that I told it to the best of my recollection, and it was as close as I could give it.
To the best of your recollection, you have about 4 different recollections on what may have happened that day.
No, I don't.
Let's talk about the day after.
Okay.
Now, you testified on Friday, and you furthered that testimony today. And you explained to us that Mr. Combs called you to the studio the next day, right?
He did.
And that you went to the studio, Mr. Combs locked the door, and he told you this was a love and passion thing, right?
Correct.
And then he told you, you better not say anything and excuse me. He told you and Ms. Harper, right? Ms. Harper was there?
Yes.
And he told both of you, you better not say anything because where I'm from, people go missing?
Correct.
And that's what you told the ladies and gentlemen of the jury in this court? That's what you said?
Correct.
And that's the truth?
That's the truth.
Now, testifying Friday and today, that's not the first time that you've had the opportunity to explain that alleged incident, right?
Correct.
Because you sat down with the prosecutors on numerous occasions, right?
Correct.
And you remember them asking you about this?
Correct.
October 31st, 2024, we're going back to what you don't argue with me is the first interview, okay?
Okay.
Objection.
It's overruled.
Now, isn't it true that at that interview, during that interview, you explained to the prosecutors that Mr. Combs told you that this was nothing but a love argument, right? No one was hurt?
Correct.
And you did not tell the prosecutors that Mr. Combs told you where I'm from, people go missing?
Can I see what you're saying? Because...
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Could you please pull 3574.006, page 6, first paragraph? Can you highlight the first paragraph, please? Please read to yourself and look up at me when you're done. That whole line, please. Thank you. You're done? Does that refresh your memory that you did not tell the federal prosecutors that Mr. Combs told you? People go missing?
I always state what I've stated. So if not, it's not my recollection that wasn't stated. But that was what happened.
So you agree with that if you stated that the prosecutors didn't write that down?
Objection.
No.
That's sustained.
You didn't see it there?
Objection.
That's sustained.
Let's go to your interview on March 18th, 2025. That's your next interview.
Okay.
Okay?
Okay.
And isn't it true in that interview you stated that Mr. Combs said this was a love thing, no one was hurt, right? And that you did not say anything about Mr. Combs told you people go missing?
What was the question?
You didn't tell prosecutors that on 3/18/2025, isn't that true?
No, that's not true. I don't recall not saying that.
I'm going to show you a document to refresh your memory.
Thank you.
Can you please pull 3574.007? This is for the parties. Page 5, second bullet point. You done?
I'm done.
Isn't it true, Ms. Richard, that you told the prosecutors that you were in the studio?
Objection.
Ms. Westmoreland, can you start again and maybe rephrase the question?
Sure, no worries, thank you. I'll ask you one question. You didn't tell the prosecutors on March 18th, 2025, your second interview, that Mr. Combs told you people go missing.
I tell my story as I remember it.
So on that day, you just didn't remember that Mr. Combs told you that people go missing. A comment that you said meant that you could die.
Objection.
That's overruled.
I spoke as best as I could as I remember it. It was a long time ago. I'm doing my best to understand these questions as best I can.
Let me ask you this. When you were in that room with the federal prosecutors, Mr. Combs was not there, right?
No.
And none of his lawyers were there?
No.
And you felt safe in the room with federal prosecutors?
Yes, ma'am.
And you know it was important to tell the truth?
Yes.
You know it was important to try to be accurate?
Yes.
The prosecutors were asking you questions?
Yes.
You were answering them?
Yes, ma'am.
You spoke about this particular incident in detail, right?
Yes, ma'am.
I mean, they asked you questions and you answered them?
To the best of my ability.
Right? And you would agree that you alleging Mr. Combs threatened you was something that you would want to tell the United States federal government, right?
Yes, ma'am.
And although that's what you're saying here in trial, you would agree with me that even in your second interview, you didn't mention that?
Objection.
It's overruled.
Could you please answer the question?
What was the question?
You would agree with me you didn't mention that?
I mentioned it. Whether or not, I don't know what the notes were taken. I can't know what the notes are going to be taken. Sorry.
You did another interview on April 17th, 2025?
Okay.
Do you have a reason to disagree with that date?
No.
During that interview, you and the United States government, you guys spoke about this incident that you're alleging. You spoke about it again, okay? Do you agree with that?
I would have to see the document.
No worries.
Thank you.
Could you please pull 3574.012? Page 2, first paragraph? Please look up at me when you're done.
I'm done.
You would agree with me that you discussed this alleged incident with prosecutors on April 17th, 2025?
Yes, ma'am.
We're on our third interview?
Uh-huh.
Mr. Combs wasn't there?
No, he was not.
I wasn't there?
No.
None of his lawyers were there?
No, ma'am.
You felt safe in this interview?
Yes, ma'am.
You didn't tell the federal government that Mr. Combs told you people go missing?
I told them exactly what my recollection of that event was.
So your recollection that day was that Mr. Combs didn't threaten you by telling you that people go missing?
He threatened me and said, people go missing.
I understand that's what you're testifying here. I'm asking you, you didn't tell the government that on April 17th, 2025, your third interview, correct?
I'm telling you, I told them what I remembered.
So you just didn't remember the threat?
Objection.
Is that fair?
No, I remembered everything I'm telling you now.
Ms. Richard, you don't have a reason to disagree with me that you met the government on October 31st, 2024. We talked about that, right?
Yes, ma'am.
You met the government on March 18th, 2025. No disagreement there?
No, ma'am.
You met the government on April 8th, 2025. No disagreement there?
Yes, ma'am.
You met the government on April 17th, 2025. No disagreement there?
No, ma'am.
You met with the government on 4/9/2025. No disagreement there?
No disagreement there.
You met with the government on the 10th of May, 2025. No disagreement there?
Yes, ma'am.
Mrs. Richard, isn't it true that the first time that you mention and allege that Mr. Combs told you people go missing was a week ago on May 10th, 2025?
No, ma'am.
Would you like me to show you the rest of your interviews to refresh your recollection?
I know what I said, ma'am.
Now, you said that when Mr. Combs told you people go missing, you took that to be a death threat?
Yes, ma'am.
That's what you're telling us, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Miss Richard, death threat that you didn't recall on 7 different occasions?
Objection.
That's sustained.
Let's move on. Ms. Richard, you testified to some other incidents that you allegedly witnessed, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Now, you told us about a restaurant, right?
Yes, ma'am.
And that Ms. Ventura and Mr. Combs were arguing and that he hit her?
Yes, ma'am.
Please tell me who all was at this restaurant.
Harve Pierre, Capricorn Clark, Mia and myself, Kalina, our bodyguards, which was Bonds and D-Rock, Cassie.
Now, you've spoken about that incident before, right?
I have.
And you remember being asked who was all there, right?
Mm-hmm.
Do you recall alleging several celebrities was actually there?
Yes.
So when the government asked you who was all there, and I asked you who was all there right now, you didn't mention any of the celebrities, right?
Right.
Please recall those celebrities now.
Usher was there, Jimmy Iovine was there, Neo came through. There were few others too. I don't recall those people, but those are the ones I remember talking to.
Those are the ones you remember talking to. Any reason why you left those individuals out when I asked you the question?
I thought you were recalling what I mentioned here. Asked me to give you the names of the people I mentioned here.
Any reason you left those individuals out when the government asked you the question?
Objection.
It's overruled.
She just asked me who was there.
And if those individuals were there, why didn't you say their name?
I'm not sure.
Okay. You told us about an incident in a car leaving the festival. Do you remember that?
Yeah. Wait, no. Not in the car leaving the festival, no.
Today is not your first day discussing these other alleged situations that you saw, right?
Correct.
Spoke about that too with the prosecutors, correct?
Correct.
Was there a time that you stated that you saw Mr. Combs pull Ms. Ventura out of the car, drag her in the grass, and everybody around saw it?
I never stated that.
You never stated that?
Uh-uh.
I'm going to show you something to help refresh your memory, okay?
Mm-hmm.
Can you pull 3,574.002? Actually, I want you to take that down for A. Second, I want to pull something else first. Can you pull 3,574.016? Can you go to the next page? Go to page 1, first paragraph. Yes, first bullet point right there. Thank you very much. Can you please read that to yourself and then look up at me when you're done? You done?
Uh-huh.
During that interview, you remember having an interview with the government, right?
Yes.
In May?
Yes.
Just a week or two ago? And the government asked you about an allegation that was made on your behalf in your civil complaint, right?
Correct.
And the government asked you about an allegation made on your behalf that Mr. Combs dragged Ms. Ventura out of the car onto the grass in front of everyone, correct?
Correct.
Because that was in your complaint, right?
That was A, misquote from A, lawyer in my complaint.
And so you explained to the government that that didn't happen?
Correct.
Now, you told us about an incident that you allege occurred at a festival, right?
Correct.
And you agree with me that at that festival, Ms. Harper was there, right?
Correct.
Isn't it true that at the festival, you were being filmed, you, Ms. Ventura, and Ms. Harper were being filmed the whole time?
Correct.
And so there's video, to your knowledge, of this whole vent, right?
Yes.
You have video?
No.
But you're aware that there is video?
Yes.
Are you aware of whether that video has been turned over to the prosecution's office?
No.
Objection.
It's overruled.
I couldn't hear you, yes or no?
No.
Because you're aware that there was video, and you made an allegation that Mr. Combs punched Ms. Ventura, right?
Yes, in the bathroom.
So that was surely beyond the video, right?
No.
Well, camera crew was filming.
Okay.
You're aware there's video?
Okay.
And if something like what you described occurred, you're not following me?
No, because we were filmed in the bathroom.
Right, you had to go out of the bathroom, right?
Yeah.
So at some point you had to go out of the bathroom. You spent all day at this festival, right?
Correct.
With a camera crew filming all day?
Correct.
Now, for these alleged times that you said you saw different situations, you'd agree with me that you were never with Mr. Combs alone, right? There was someone else with you?
What do you mean by just the incidents I've named? Yes.
Let's just stick to those. The incidents that you named, there was someone always with you, right?
Yes.
You've provided those individuals' names to the prosecution?
Yes.
And we can both agree that during all of the allegations of what you said that you saw happen with Cassie, that Ms. Harper, that she was with you, right?
Yes.
She was with you at the festival?
Yes.
You told the ladies and gentlemen of this jury she was with you in this car?
Yes.
She was with you at the restaurant?
Yes.
Ms. Richard, let's talk about guns. You testified about guns, right?
Yes.
Now, you would agree with me that Mr. Combs was a celebrity, right?
Yes.
And during the whole time that you had the opportunity to be around Mr. Combs and Bad Boys, he was a celebrity, right?
Yes.
And you once yourself had fame, right?
Yes.
And you would agree with me that it's common for celebrities to have bodyguards?
Yes.
And you would agree with me that part of the reason for celebrities to have bodyguards is to help protect them from danger?
Yes.
Now, you testified that you saw Mr. Combs with a gun?
Yes.
And I don't want to misquote you. You said a few times?
Yes.
You were around Mr. Combs from 2004 to 2011. Pretty close proximity, you would say.
Yes.
So over several years, you saw a gun a few times?
Yes.
You told us once, studio, that's what you said?
The studio and sometimes the club.
Can you give us a little bit of detail? First time you saw Ms. Richard. Gun, tell us when, where, tell us about it.
Studio, New York, Daddy's house.
Second time.
Studio, New York, Daddy's house.
Third time.
In his house, New York.
Did you give those details to the government?
No.
No?
No.
8 interviews, right?
Mm-hmm.
And during these interviews, the prosecutors asked you questions, right?
Mm-hmm.
And you answered them?
Mm-hmm.
And you spoke about guns?
Yes.
This question-answer session?
Yes.
And out of 8 interviews, you didn't tell the prosecution, hey, I saw a gun, it was at the studio at Daddy's house. You didn't tell them that?
I answered what was asked of me.
They didn't ask you any detail?
That wasn't asked at the time.
Well, when you say at the time, I'm talking about 8 times.
It wasn't asked. I'm sorry.
Okay, thank you for that. Let me ask a few questions.
Okay.
You never saw Mr. Combs pull a gun out and wave it around, right?
No.
You never saw Mr. Combs pull a gun out and cock it back or anything?
No.
You never saw Mr. Combs load bullets in a gun or anything like that?
No.
Matter of fact, you've never seen Mr. Combs pull a gun out, period?
Just had it on him.
Just had it on him?
Mm-hmm.
In the back?
Mm-hmm.
I want to ask you about your testimony regarding drugs, okay?
Okay.
You saw Mr. Combs do drugs?
Yes.
You did drugs too, right?
Weed, yes.
You ever pretend to do some other drugs?
Yes.
But you didn't actually do them?
No.
You were putting on a facade?
Yes.
Now, I want to make sure that this is your testimony. You stated today that you've never seen Mr. Combs do cocaine, right?
Objection.
Sustained.
Misstates the testimony. You've never saw Mr. Combs do cocaine, right?
That's sustained.
I'm asking, have you ever seen Mr. Combs do cocaine?
Yes.
You have. Okay, was there a time that you told the government in interviews that you've never seen Mr. Combs do cocaine?
I don't recall that.
Let me help refresh your memory.
Thank you.
Can you please pull Doc 3574.006, please? Can you take us to page 7? This is just for the parties. First bullet point, can you highlight that? Ms. Richard, can you please read that to yourself, and when you're finished, please look up at me. You done?
Mm-hmm.
Did that refresh your memory?
It did.
So I'll ask you again. Isn't it true that you told the government that you've never seen Mr. Combs do cocaine?
At the time, I hadn't recalled that, no.
I'm sorry. At the time that you did the interview on October 31st, you hadn't recalled that?
No, I hadn't.
But the government asked you about Mr. Combs' drug usage, right?
They did.
And you didn't say to the government, hey, I don't know?
No, I didn't say that.
You actually said Mr. Combs did not do...
Objection.
I think there was a withdrawn objection. Can you re-ask the question?
You didn't say, I don't know if Mr. Combs does cocaine, right?
I didn't say.
You told the government, Mr. Combs, I've never seen him do cocaine. That's what you said?
Yes.
And you would agree with me that your testimony has changed on that?
It has.
I mean, you would agree with me at this point that your testimony's changed on quite a few things?
I think as time progresses, I get better with knowing it because it was so long ago.
So you would agree with me that as time progresses, your story changes?
Yes.
Now, you testified to the ladies and gentlemen of the jury that you would see an individual by the name of One Stop?
Yes.
And that he would come to the studio?
Yes.
And that you witnessed him sell drugs?
Yes.
That's what you said?
Yes.
This is not the first time you had an opportunity to discuss this subject, right?
Mm-hmm.
And isn't it true that you've never seen One Stop actually sell drugs?
No, I've seen One Stop sell drugs.
Who did you see give One Stop money?
That varied. It could be an assistant, or it could be Puff giving the assistant money to pay for.
You said could be. I'm not asking you to speculate. That's not allowed here. I'm asking you to answer the question, if you know.
Yeah, I've seen him give money. An assistant give money to One Stop and he would give drugs.
Can you please pull Doc 3574.015, page 2? This is just for the parties. Take us down to the third bullet point. And please highlight the last open bullet point. Just the last open bullet point, please. Thank you. Miss Richard, please read that to yourself and look up at me when you're done. Isn't it true that you had an interview with the government, right? And you discussed One Stop? They asked you questions? They, meaning the government.
Yes.
You answered questions?
Yes.
You knew to tell the truth?
Yes.
And whether you had witnessed One Stop selling drugs? That subject was discussed?
It was.
And isn't it true that you told the government you never saw?
Objection.
Overruled.
Isn't it true that you told the government that you never saw anyone give payment to One Stop?
Yes.
You didn't know who paid for the drugs?
Correct.
Right. So when you testified today in front of the ladies and gentlemen of the jury that you saw One Stop sell drugs, that you saw Mr. Combs pay him for drugs, that was a lie.
No.
So you agree with me that what you're testifying to today is different than what you told the government in that interview?
Correct.
Another story change?
Not a story change, but yes, different.
Ms. Richard, I don't know the exact count, but at this point you would agree with me we have several story changes?
Objection.
That's sustained.
Let's talk about your testimony in reference to how threatened you felt by Mr. Combs. You were scared?
Yes.
Very?
Yes.
So, Miss Richard, you separated in 2011, meaning you went on as a solo artist, right?
Correct.
And so you were no longer with or around Mr. Combs like that, right?
Correct.
And I mean, you being pretty scared and so fearful in fear of your life after 2011, you were away from him, right?
Correct.
And I'm sure you being pretty fearful and scared of him, that once you were able to get away from him, you definitely wouldn't want to come back, right?
Correct.
But you would agree with me that you actually asked Mr. Combs to come back, didn't you?
Not to come back, no.
Can you please pull up for the party's defense exhibit 1501? Mrs. Richard, I'm going to ask you to look at the top of this document. Do you know what this is?
Yes, I do.
Looks familiar to you?
Yes.
And you would agree that this is a text message exchange?
Yes, it is.
Accurate?
Yes.
At this time, I move to admit defense exhibit 1501.
Objection. Hearsay.
Your Honor, this was ruled on.
Well, there was an issue that was ruled on, but let's have a very brief sidebar. The issue that was previously raised had to go to the 803.3 issue of then state of mind. However, the way you've presented this is as an impeaching document. So that's a separate issue. And I don't believe that the prerequisites have been satisfied yet that would permit you to put in the statement on those grounds.
Okay.
Ms. Steiner, do you have anything further?
No.
I understand that there was a different issue that was presented with this document, and that's why I called the sidebar. So you can lay the foundation, go through the steps and try to introduce it as a prior inconsistent statement, but you have to ask the questions first.
Ms. Richard? Now, you gave testimony that after you left and you were separate from Mr. Combs, that he would reach out to you when you were... He would reach out to you at certain moments, is what you described. You testified that you would respond kindly, right? And that you would only respond kindly because you figured out that was the best way to do so, right? Okay. But you also just testified that because were you in fear, right? I asked you about your fear. And because you were finally able to, or you were gone from Mr. Combs, that being in fear that you wouldn't want to come back and work with him or be around him, right?
Correct.
That's what you said, right?
Correct.
Isn't it true that Mr. Combs didn't just reach out to you, you reached out to him?
Correct.
So you weren't just responding in kind, you were initiating conversation?
Once before, yeah.
Once?
When I say once before, I mean there was a time when I was asked by someone
I'm going to stop you right there.
to contact Puffy.
I'm going to stop you right there. The government will get up and ask you questions, and I'm asking you this question.
Yes, ma'am.
The question I'm asking you is, isn't it true that you initiated contact with Mr. Combs?
Correct.
And I just want to make sure we are clear, because you said something about one time a second ago, so I want to make sure we're clear. You reached out to Mr. Combs on several different occasions, correct?
Yes.
And so you would agree with me that there is a difference between Mr. Combs reaching out to you and you responding to him as opposed to you reaching out to him?
Correct.
And you were so scared of him, right?
Yes.
So you would agree with me that you reached out to Mr. Combs, and one of the reasons that you reached out to Mr. Combs was to work with him again?
Yes.
Ms. Richard, I want you to help us understand. Mr. Combs had threatened you?
Mm-hmm.
You perceived the threats as death threats?
Yes.
Feared for your life?
Yes.
Scared?
Yes, ma'am.
You're away from him 2011, but then you ask him to come work with him again? Now, Ms. Richard, you explained to us that your relationship with Mr. Combs started about 2004, right? And you testified Friday that you were in A, group Danity Kane, correct?
Yes, correct.
And you would agree with me that when you were A, member of Danity Kane, that you experienced fame by way of that, right?
Yes.
I mean, you would describe it as you couldn't walk the streets, like a regular person?
I wouldn't describe it as that. I mean, we were young, so it was younger kids.
You've had this conversation with the government about Danity Kane, right?
Yep.
And in fame, you don't remember?
In fame? Meaning like just us being famous?
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, we were big.
You were big?
Yeah.
Right. And Danity Kane was dismantled in 2008, 2009?
Yes, in 2009, yeah.
And then after Danity Kane was like a 5-member group?
Yes.
And you named Danity Kane, right?
Yes.
And then Danity Kane was dismantled, and then you were a member of the group Dirty Money, right?
Correct.
When you were a member of the group Dirty Money, that was you, Mr. Combs, and Ms. Harper?
Yeah.
So now Mr. Combs is actually a member in the group that you're in, right?
Yes.
And you would agree with me that Dirty Money did pretty good in the industry, right?
They did okay, yeah.
I mean, you would agree that Danity Kane and Dirty Money both went platinum?
Yeah, they went.
In case the ladies and gentlemen of the jury, explain platinum?
We sell a lot of records.
I mean, you would agree with me that Danity Kane sold 100,000 records in one day?
Yes.
600,000 in a week? Did pretty good.
Did pretty well.
Now, you testified Danity Kane stopped 2009, Dirty Money stopped in 2011. And so that was the end of the music with Mr. Combs, correct?
Correct.
And then I think the prosecutor asked you about what you had been doing since, right?
Correct.
And you've released over 100 songs?
Correct.
And you would agree with me that the songs that you've released haven't reached the levels of success as Dirty Money and Danity Kane, to mean no offense. But you agree with that, right?
Correct.
And you agree with me that you actually asked Mr. Combs to sign you as a solo artist?
Before I left.
Before you left, right? About 2011? And he told you no?
Yeah.
And you agree with me that you've reached out to Mr. Combs after you were gone and asked him to come back and do work with him, right?
Correct.
I mean, as recently as the years 2020, 2021, right?
To work together is Dirty Money?
Just work together, period.
Yeah. Yes.
You have?
Yes.
And the endeavors that you were trying to do with Mr. Combs more recently, those didn't work out. You didn't end up working with him, right? So you would agree with me that you felt like Mr. Combs had no legitimate reason to dismantle the previous groups that you were in? You would agree with that, right?
Correct.
And you would agree with me. I mean, you've given plenty of interviews in reference to your feelings on Dirty Money and Danity Kane being dismantled, right?
Correct.
So you felt Mr. Combs had no legitimate reason to do that?
Correct.
And you would agree with me or admit that you were angry about it?
Saddened by it.
Saddened by it. Because you would agree that you felt like Mr. Combs ruined your career not once, but twice?
Yes.
And then Mr. Combs had the audacity to not sign you as a solo artist. You felt like that?
Yeah, I didn't care about that.
You didn't care?
Yeah, whether he signed me.
Music is your dream?
Yes.
And you've been trying to succeed at it for a long time?
I did succeed at it.
In the past?
Now.
Ms. Richard, November 2023, you saw Ms. Ventura had filed suit against Mr. Combs?
Correct.
You read her complaint?
Correct.
And shortly after Ms. Ventura filed suit, you filed suit yourself, right?
Correct.
And it is your want to get a lot of money from Mr. Combs, correct?
No.
So you're not filing a lawsuit to get money?
I'm filing a lawsuit to get compensated for the work that I've put forth.
And you would agree with me that your definition of compensation is money?
Yes, correct.
I have no further questions.
Your Honor, may we please have a sidebar?
You may.
Your Honor, the government believes that Ms. Westmoreland, through her repeated line of questioning regarding Ms. Richards' employment, why she was dissatisfied, why she left, has opened the door in several respects to testimony that we did not elicit about forced labor. Specifically, asked her why things didn't work out, why she was dissatisfied, that she had no reason to leave, that she not once but twice had asked the defendant to return to working for him. Ms. Richard, if asked, would testify that the defendant had on numerous occasions overworked her, underpaid her, groped her, had not permitted her to take any respite, leading to her hospitalization, and that he would make continuous threats if she failed to work the hours that he required. All of that is going to be omitted from what's proven to the jury currently and leave the jury with a false impression that Ms. Richards simply was asking the defendant about work or was dissatisfied with work without giving the appropriate context.
Your Honor, not true. First, just want to make sure that we had a discussion yesterday about what I would go into.
Just to clarify, we never discussed this issue.
Can I finish real quick? That's number one. Number two is the government asked Ms. Richard Friday, you started your career, 2004? It ended 2011. It was with Mr. Combs. She introduced Dani Kane. She introduced Dirty Money. If I could go one by one, if I could see your pad, or if you want to say it again.
You can look at the notes.
Just ask you a basic question. My understanding, and I'll go back and look at the transcript, is that on direct examination, the witness indicated that after her employment had ended, she just responded to Mr. Combs's outreach in a way that would keep her safe. And to undermine that, you asked questions concerning Ms. Richards' career to show that she was still interested in talking to Mr. Combs because of gripes about her career, essentially. So this issue of undermining the witness's credibility, given what had been elicited on direct, that's what I understood it to be. But Miss Steiner, I think you're suggesting that it was broader than that. That there were questions that went to the reasons why Ms. Richard left Bad Boy Records in the first place.
Correct.
I don't remember that, but...
No, I did not ask that, and I did respond to that. I said that he closed the group down. I didn't say, why did you leave, Ms. Richard, or you were unhappy, or...
I think you said it was dismantled.
The group was dismantled. I didn't say, why did she leave? I said, Mr. Combs dismantled the group. I didn't say, why did you leave the group? She didn't leave the group anyway. The group was dismantled.
Ms. Steiner.
A couple of points, Your Honor. Sorry to interrupt. With respect to dismantling of the group, again, I do think that does speak to the circumstances surrounding that. Ms. Richard would testify that it was dismantled on live TV after she had received a series of threats by the defendant that she had sustained these very difficult work conditions. Ms. Westmoreland, through her line of questioning, also attempted to paint a picture that Ms. Richard made more money, had greater success in Dani Kane and Dirty Money than she's ever had since. And that calls into question what her experience actually was in those groups, which was not, as has been elicited, that she made a ton of money. In fact, Ms. Richard would testify she was underpaid, at times not paid, is actually the subject matter of her current suit.
I think there's a narrower issue here. I don't think Ms. Westmoreland has opened the door to all the forced labor allegations. However, there was an attack on her credibility. Fair?
Fair.
And Ms. Steiner, on redirect, you can rehabilitate the witness in any way that you believe is appropriate given what Ms. Westmoreland asked about. I take it, Ms. Westmoreland, you are anticipating and happy to have Ms. Steiner do that.
Absolutely.
I don't know if there's a real issue here because to the extent that Ms. Westmoreland, for instance, suggested reasons why Ms. Richard did certain things after she left Bad Boy Records that were related to her efforts to try to get money from Mr. Combs, and your response is, actually, there are legitimate reasons why she acted the way she did. That's fair game, correct?
I agree.
I want to make sure the record is clear about what's allowed here. I want to make sure we're following Your Honour's order and responding appropriately. So it would be about the fact that she felt she was underpaid, did not receive fair compensation to respond to that line of cross, but not the allegations of being overworked, not the allegations of being hospitalized.
I don't believe Maybe I need to understand what's going on. So I don't believe there was any questioning on cross-examination concerning what happened in the employment to the witness. I don't remember that.
I didn't.
That's what's missing. I think there was questioning about what happened after the employment ended and the communications to suggest that essentially, the witness had come up with these things after the lawsuit was filed and after she proceeded to get money. Is that a fair characterization?
Yes.
I thought there was questioning about how many songs they put out, how many records they sold, how they went platinum with Danity Kane and Dirty Money. And the implication was she made money from that, and being successful like that, the redirect would be, well, how much were you paid for that?
I don't think that was in bounds.
That's what I wanted to check.
Thank you for asking that. I do think if you want to rehabilitate the witness by saying, why did you file your lawsuit? What was involved in the lawsuit? To show that it was not an effort simply to just get money from Mr. Combs in the wake of Ms. Ventura's lawsuit, but that she believed that these things happened, or if there's something in the communications, you could say that, well, the reason why she was having these communications was X or Y reason. I think that that's within bounds. Correct, Ms. Westmoreland?
If she's asked why did you file a lawsuit, she will say, because I was underpaid, because he didn't pay me for the work I did, and because he worked me to the bone to the point I was hospitalized.
I think defense opened the door to that by asking about the lawsuit. But keep the questioning brief to respond to what was a brief questioning on cross-examination.
Understood. Thank you, Your Honor.
Good morning again, Miss Richard.
Good morning.
You were asked a series of questions on cross-examination about your employment for Mr. Combs. Do you recall that?
Yes.
And specifically, you were asked about your employment when you were working as a member of Danity Kane, which is a women's group. Is that correct?
Correct.
And of Diddy Dirty Money. Is that right?
Correct.
And you were also asked questions about your civil lawsuit. Do you recall that?
Correct.
Can you explain why you filed your civil lawsuit?
I felt I was in an environment that wasn't conducive for an employee. And I am. From my time and experience working with Sean Combs, that's what I was suing for.
When you say not conducive for an employee, can you describe what you mean by that?
No sleep days.
Objection.
That's sustained.
What, if anything, related to your financial compensation was addressed in your civil lawsuit?
I don't recall. I don't know.
Did your civil lawsuit discuss how much you were paid for those jobs?
No.
You were asked on cross-examination a series of questions about what you had told the government in various meetings. Do you recall that?
I do.
And what you had included in your complaint and demand letters related to your case. Do you recall that?
Yes.
And you also were asked questions about how your memory of those events have in certain ways changed. Do you remember that?
Yes.
When did the events that you have testified about here today occur?
Between 2004 and 2011.
And when did you first meet with the government?
Late 2024, early 2025.
So over a decade later, is that right?
Correct.
And during the course of that decade, had you thought a lot about your employment?
I try not to.
And why did you try not to think about it?
Because it was a hard time. It was a bad time for me and a bad environment for me.
And so you filed the lawsuit in 2024, is that right? And you started meeting with the government around then too, is that right?
Correct.
Can you describe the process for the jury of trying to recall these events that you've tried to forget for so long?
They don't all come back immediately. I have to go back to memories that I don't want to. And it takes time to remember things that have happened during the time that you try to forget.
When you're referring to memories that you didn't want to come back to, what types of memories are those?
Work until you sick.
Objection, Your Honor.
Sustained.
Move to strike.
Granted. The jury should disregard the witness's last answer.
And Ms. Richard, without speaking about your personal condition, what, if any, memories had you been trying to suppress?
The environment was volatile and it was very hard to work in. And so I tried to erase those things from my mind.
And over time, has your memory become clearer?
Every day it gets easier to remember certain things. I try my best to do it to the best of my ability.
And how is that?
By speaking with you guys, speaking with others about the incidents, trying to remember and piece those things together as best and accurate as I can.
You were asked a series of questions on cross-examination about notes that the government had taken during meetings with you and your attorney. Do you recall that?
Yes.
Did you review those notes for accuracy?
No, I did not.
Do you know if, in fact, they are accurate?
No, I don't.
Had you ever seen those notes prior to being shown them by defense counsel today?
Did not.
And similarly, you were shown a letter written by your attorney on cross-examination. Do you recall that?
Yes.
Had you ever seen that letter before today?
I had not.
Had you reviewed it for accuracy?
No.
So again, you were asked on cross-examination a series of questions about your memory, and you testified that as part of this process of recalling, your memory has on certain issues changed over time. Do you recall that?
Yes.
And you met with the government on several occasions. Is that right?
I'd say a few, but yeah.
A few?
Yes.
Okay, I want to be accurate. In every meeting with the government, did you inform the government that Mr. Combs hit Ms. Ventura?
Correct.
And in every meeting with the government, did you inform the government that Mr. Combs beat Ms. Ventura?
Objection.
Sustained. You can rephrase the question.
On every meeting with the government, did you inform the government that Mr. Combs had been violent with Ms. Ventura?
Objection.
Sustained. The question needs to be rephrased.
In every meeting with the government, did you discuss physical encounters?
Objection.
What's the grounds for the objection?
Leading.
Yes, that's sustained.
In every meeting with the government, did you describe the encounters that you had observed between Ms. Ventura and Mr. Combs?
Objection.
That's overruled.
Yes.
With respect to those interactions, what did you observe?
That Cassie was attacked and beaten.
In every meeting with the government, did you tell the government that Mr. Combs had either been yelling at Ms. Ventura, degrading Ms. Ventura, or hitting or kicking Ms. Ventura?
Objection.
Sustained.
In all of your meetings with the government, Ms. Richard, did you discuss that Mr. Combs had threatened you
Yes.
and that he told you to keep quiet?
Yes.
And when would he tell you to do that?
Anytime I spoke up or anytime I would talk to Cassie about her journey, or we did something we weren't supposed to do.
And I want to talk about a specific incident that you were asked about with respect to the frying pan in 2009. Do you recall being asked about that on cross-examination?
Yes.
And that incident took place in 2009, so approximately how long ago was that?
I'm not good at math. I'm sorry. A long time.
In the course of speaking with the government, is it fair to say that you have been thinking a lot about that incident?
Yes.
Sitting here today, do you have any doubt in your mind that Mr. Combs attempted to strike Ms. Ventura?
I have no doubt that he did.
And do you have any doubt at all, that Ms. Ventura, when he did that, dropped to the ground and formed the fetal position?
Correct.
Do you have any doubt?
No, I don't have any doubt.
And do you have any doubt that he then dragged Ms. Ventura up the stairs by the hair?
Yes.
Do you have any doubt?
No doubt.
And do you have any doubt that once upstairs, you heard the breaking of glass as though it was being thrown?
No doubt.
And do you have any doubt that the following day, Mr. Combs brought you in and threatened you to keep quiet?
No doubt.
You were asked a couple of questions on cross-examination about the incident that had occurred at the restaurant in West Hollywood, California. Do you remember that?
I do.
During that incident, what occurred?
Cassie was punched in the stomach.
By who?
By Sean Combs.
And was she punched with full force or less than full force?
He punched her. I wasn't hard. He punched her hard.
And when he punched her hard, you had been asked by me on direct examination which of his employees was present. Is that correct?
Correct.
Did I ask you whether anyone, aside from his employees, was present?
No, you did not.
And were there, in fact, other individuals aside from his employees present?
Yes.
And why didn't you raise them on direct examination?
Because you didn't ask.
Were you trying to hide that fact?
No.
You were also asked about an incident in which you had at one point stated that Ms. Ventura had been pulled out of a vehicle by Mr. Combs and dragged onto the grass. Do you recall that?
I do.
And you testified that you believed that was an error that had been made by your attorneys, is that right?
Correct.
Do you ever recall an incident of violence that you had been referring to?
Yes.
Can you please describe for the jury what occurred during that incident of violence?
Cassie was grabbed the neck and head slammed against the window.
By who?
By Sean Combs.
When you say the window, which...
The glass in the car.
And where were you relative to Ms. Ventura and Mr. Combs when Mr. Combs slammed Ms. Ventura's head into the window?
Sitting right there in front of them.
You were asked a few questions on cross-examination by Ms. Westmoreland about instances where you had initiated contact with Mr. Combs since leaving Diddy Dirty Money. Do you recall that?
I do.
And you were specifically asked about an instance where you had reached out to Mr. Combs about making demand. Is that correct? And I believe Ms. Westmoreland interrupted you at that point. Can you please explain to the jury why you reached out to Mr. Combs at that time?
Lori Ann Gibson was a part of the judges for making the band, and I had not had contact with her, and I really wanted a relationship with her. She was the first person to help me be a part of the band. She had talked to me and said,
Objection.
That's sustained.
Can you explain, without specifying what Ms. Lori Ann said to you, why you reached out and at whose direction you reached out to Mr. Combs?
I was told to contact...
Objection.
I contacted Puff to be a part of making the band to develop a relationship with Lori Ann again. And it was a way to do it without Mr. Sean Combs being a part of it. He was not a judge. He was not a part of that filming. He wasn't there.
Why did you think you needed to reach out to Mr. Combs at that time to participate in that opportunity?
It was informed that I should do so by Lori Ann.
It was what?
Informed that I should do so by Lori Ann.
And did you ever subsequently reach out to Mr. Combs about working for him?
For making the band?
For any reason?
Yes.
Why is that?
Kalina was having issues and she wanted to get back in the band.
Objection.
For dirty money?
Objection.
Hold on.
I can rephrase, Your Honor.
I'll sustain the objection. You can ask another question.
Ms. Richard, you were asked on cross-examination about reaching out to Mr. Combs after you've ended your employment for Diddy Dirty Money in the years that followed. Is that right?
Correct.
And generally, how frequently would you maintain contact or would you hear from him?
It would be sporadic.
In those discussions, what would you tell Mr. Combs?
That we want to get the band back together to hope that Dirty Money could get back together.
Why would you tell him that?
Helping out a friend at the time.
Is the friend Miss Harper?
Yeah.
Is there any reason that aside from helping a friend, that you personally wanted to work for Mr. Combs?
I didn't want to go back.
Why didn't you want to go back to working for Mr. Combs?
Because it wasn't good, and I didn't want it, but I was trying to help a friend.
When you say it wasn't good, what did you observe between Mr. Combs and Ms. Ventura during your prior employment?
Violence.
Objection.
That's sustained.
No further questions, Your Honor.
Ms. Westmoreland.
Yes, Your Honor. May we have a brief conference at the bench, like 30 seconds? I'm asking this out of an abundance of caution. You might not have an objection, we talked about it yesterday, but you asked her about the financial contention of the lawsuit. I'm going to ask her if she's aware of the $22 million that was demanded.
She's already testified she doesn't know.
She already testified. To clarify and provide context, in the demand letter that was issued on Ms. Richards' behalf, which Ms. Richard testified on several occasions on cross-examination she has not reviewed, there is a $22 million amount that is included. But I don't think you've laid the foundation that she would have any reason to have knowledge of the amount, even though she said she never looked at the document.
I don't think she needs to look at the document to have knowledge. I think she authorized them to file suit on her behalf. I want to ask if she's aware. If she's not, she could say no.
No. You can ask some initial questions to see if she has any knowledge whatsoever about what the amount is or what discussions have had. I'll allow you to do that. If she has no knowledge about anything, you can't start talking about a number that I haven't seen and no one's seen in this courtroom.
Your Honor, can I add one thing? I think the number is so large, it goes to her credibility when she says She doesn't know that a lawyer asked for $22 million on her behalf is different than she doesn't know that a lawyer asked for $100,000 on her behalf. One strains credibility, I think.
I think we have to take this.
Do you have some evidence that you want to put in to try to establish that she has knowledge and she is not telling the truth?
It's just the number itself.
That's not true. I mean, if she doesn't know what demands have been made, she doesn't know. You can ask questions. If you think that someone in her position would know what the number is, then there are a number of questions you can ask to try to establish that she does or doesn't know. So you can do that. And let's take it from there and see if you get to a point where if the witness says that she has been following and receives the updates from her lawyers and all of this other stuff, then we can take it from there and you can raise your objection there.
Me and you spoke. You do not object to me saying a lot of money as long as I don't say a number.
Sorry, can you provide context?
Making sure that you're still in agreement that I can say a lot of money. Because that's the we made yesterday. I can't say the amount.
I never said a lot of money. I think it's fair to say that she has requested money during her as part of her civil suit, which she acknowledged on cross-examination.
Okay.
All right, Ms. Westmoreland, when you're ready.
Thank you.
Miss Richard,
Yes.
so you admit that you reached out to Mr. Combs to re-engage in making the band, right?
Yes.
And you explained that while you only did that because you wanted a relationship with Lorianne Gibson, right?
I did.
Okay. And you explained that while Mr. Combs, he wasn't going to be a judge on that one?
I was only asked to go to one place.
So you were only going to go to one place?
Mm-hmm.
But you would agree with me that if you reformed Dirty Money as a music group with Mr. Combs, that if that actually happened, you would be around him pretty often?
Yes.
I mean, as a group, you guys would go to the studio together?
Yes.
Write together?
Yes.
Brainstorm together?
Yes.
Perform together?
Yes.
Radio appearances together?
Yes.
TV appearances together?
Yes.
Tours together?
Yes.
Travel together?
Yes.
Hotels together?
Yes.
Travel from state to state together?
Yes.
I'm sorry, I can't hear you.
Yes.
Travel out of the country together?
Yes.
Possibly, if successful enough, go on tours with tens and tens of different or 50, 70 different destinations.
Yes.
Fair to say that as a group, you would spend a lot of time together.
Yes.
And you're telling us that you initiated contact with Mr. Combs, right?
Mm-hmm.
To restart a group,
Mm-hmm.
right? That you are fully aware that you would spend a lot of time with Mr. Combs, right?
Yes.
Okay? Even though you're telling us that he made death threats?
Yes.
Okay. Ms. Richard, before your first meeting with the government, you had seen that Cassie Ventura filed a lawsuit, right?
Yes.
You read the lawsuit?
Yes.
And then you went out and you hired your own lawyers, right?
Yes.
And you filed your lawsuit?
Yes.
And you were hoping to be nicely compensated for that, correct?
For justice.
And justice for you would be money?
It would be to be made whole and also be paid for the time that I was with Puff, with Sean Combs.
Which means money?
Yes.
No further questions.
Thank you. Any further questions, Ms. Steiner?
No, Your Honor. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ms. Richard.